Hello everyone, I'm Morgan, and today I wanted to talk to you about the books I DNF'd in the third part of the year, so in September, August and July. So I DNF'd 6 books this quarter, and well, you will see which one they are. So I will tell you about them from the order that I DNF'd them, so in chronological order. So the first book I DNF'd this quarter was Damascus Gate by Robert Stone. This book is a historical fiction book that I honestly can't remember anything about. I just read a few pages and I did not like the writing or anything. I just basically read a few pages to make sure I wanted to unhold it, and I did. So yeah, I don't know, it was set many years ago and it had to do with religion. I don't know, I honestly can't remember, but it just sounded so not interesting. And you know, like, it's one of those books that I bought at my used bookstore and that I thought might be interesting, maybe, perhaps, and also one of the books that has been shortlisted somewhat for the Booker Prize, I think, and that's why I bought it. But yeah, I completely lost interest, so I DNF'd it and hauled it. Then the second book I unhauled, well, DNF'd, is Black Leopard Red Wolf by Marlon James. I did talk a little bit about this in another video, but this book just was not for me at all. I wouldn't say it's terrible, but it was terrible for me. This I actually read quite a few pages of. I read more than 100 pages before I DNF'd it, which is unusual for me. I typically know pretty easily if I don't like something, but this, I guess I was trying a little bit because I was interested in the premise and some of the fantasy aspects, but I didn't like some of the things that were in there, and they're why I stopped reading. So we follow this guy who meets another guy who can turn into a leopard, and he doesn't really know. I mean, he can't turn into anything else, at least from what I've read. It's really fuzzy in my mind, but the reason I DNF'd it is that there were many scenes that were just too crude for me, like some sex scenes with this guy who could turn into a leopard and our main character who was sleeping with him, and it was just too weird. Like, it felt like reading zoophil porn, you know, like porn with animals, and that's just too much. And also, like, the way it was written and the pacing was weird. Like, I was sort of interested in the plot, but it was moving so slowly. I mean, I read more than 100 pages, but also, like, the font was incredibly small, so I was not moving forward fast enough, and I was not that interested. I mean, I was sort of interested. I mean, there were so many inspirations in this book, like from African folklore, that interested me, and like this city that he created, many cities actually, they all sounded so amazing, like not Western cities, just I know stuff that I haven't never seen. And so for that I wanted to keep reading, and because I didn't hate this main character, though he was kind of an asshole. So yeah, I kept telling myself that I would continue, but I really hated, like, so many of the scenes. It was just too much, so I stopped reading. Then I also DNF'd The Orchid Thief by Susan Orlean. I read another book by Susan Orlean last year, which was the library book. This one is pretty well known, and so this one, The Orchid Thief, was about this guy who was an orchid thief. And first of all, she talked about the orchid market and how these flowers can sell for so much because there are some species of flowers that are really rare and that kind of thing. And honestly, I thought it would be interesting, but it was so boring. And as usual, when I'm thinking of DNFing a book, I looked at the spoiler reviews and they all said exactly the same thing, that it was incredibly boring, and that was a disappointment. So I did not continue further on. I just could not care less about orchids, so yeah. Then I tried to read So You Had to Build a Time Machine by Jason Offutt. I also didn't read that much in this book. It was a sci-fi book, as you can imagine, with the time machine, and I just did not care about any of the characters, and I thought the writing was bad. So yeah, I just did not want to read that. Then the next one is The Shadow King by Maaza Mengiste. I hope that's how you say it. This was one of the books I tried to read because it's shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize, and I just did not care about it. I mean, not really. I mean, there were some things I did care about, but overall the pacing was weird, and I just didn't care that much as much as I wanted anyway. Because what we were told about this book is that it's about women during the war in Nigeria, and how we would learn about what happened to them and how strong they were. And I read almost half of it, and that still hadn't happened yet. And most of the characters we followed were actually the men and not the women, because the women had to stay with the men who were doing the war, and they just had to stay behind and keep their things for them. And I was like, that's not what I wanted, you know? It's just been so badly marketed that I just hated that, and I was really disappointed because other than that, like, I did like the writing, and I was interested in reading something completely different. Though historical fiction isn't typically my thing, but this was a perspective that I have never seen. So basically you had Mussolini, who apparently invaded this country, and I just had never heard about that, about an African country being invaded by Mussolini, so especially Nigeria. And we followed this woman. Well, first she's sort of a girl, I think she's really young at the beginning, and she has become almost a slave for this man after her parents have died. And I really wanted to root for her, but we didn't get that much background about her except for that how her parents died, and I just, yeah, it wasn't that much. And then we mostly followed, so this man that she works for is with, don't really know, and this other woman who is married to him, and we get some background about her, and just it's a lot, and it just didn't work for me. And that's the last book I DNF'd was Boy by Brent van Staalduinen. I don't know. This was an arc that I got from the galley, and again, I wanted to like it, but I just didn't. It was just about this boy who at the beginning starts seeing this guy that he feels not everybody sees, so he wonders about that. And he also has had weird things in his life. He is living with his mother, who doesn't really take care of him, and he used to want to join the army, but he doesn't really know anymore. He's wondering about things, and the writing was just not that good. I was not interested in this character who just kept talking about the army and how much you need to do that, but he didn't want to anymore, and how he had slept with this girl at this camp, and maybe she was pregnant but he wasn't sure, and like, I just don't care. So yeah, I DNF'd that, and yeah, that was the last book I DNF'd this quarter. So yeah, I DNF'd quite a few, but not that much. I still have been mostly reading books that I love, so it's been pretty nice, but now and then there have been some books that I haven't enjoyed, so yeah. So please tell me what you have DNF'd, if you DNF, because I'd love to know. And that's all for me for today. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in another video. Goodbye.